Guess what time it is? It's paddle shift time. So today we're gonna retrofit paddle shifters on my all-wheel drive K5 GT line. So I'll just record the steps because I couldn't find any videos for the K5. So just gonna make one. See all the parts and the tools required in the description below. So the first step, of course, is to disconnect your negative battery terminal. Then the next step is set your timer for 15 minutes and we wait. So somebody might be wondering, why do I disconnect the battery and why wait? Because like, if you look at the other videos and kind of learn from others, it's basically how the Optimas, you had to wait like 5 minutes to disconnect the battery and let the system fully discharge before you disconnect the airbag. Again, these have, I guess, like capacitors, and capacitors hold energy. Just in case in an accident, you can still have your airbag go off if something goes bad with the power. So just as a safety precaution, you just want to wait. 5 minutes seemed too short for me. That's why I put 15, and I saw at least one other person say wait 15 minutes because, yeah, you don't want to total out your car by trying to add paddle shifters. Again, if you're not comfortable, pray a professional and let them do it. But this is more for your educational purposes to know how long it'll take, so you know how much they should charge for a fair price. After waiting 15 minutes, next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna rotate your steering wheel. And what you're looking for, and I'll move my camera inside, is that little hole there. And that's where you'll put in a flathead screwdriver and lift up to disengage the airbag. Okay, I'm gonna use a short flat tip screwdriver to try to get into that space, because there's, of course, the cover of your gauge there. And I might use my other camera just to do a flip to see if I can see the back side. So right there, you can see that's that little white clip that we gotta push up. So basically what I had to do, instead of going underneath it like this, I had to lift my screwdriver to the top of it. I pulled it back a little bit, went into the top, and got in the top, and then pushed down. And then that released this, if you can see in the other camera. So let's go ahead and spin it and do the same thing. So we're gonna go the opposite direction, pull out our screwdriver. Okay. You should see the other hole. And there's the white back there. So we're gonna get the screwdriver in between that metal piece and the top part of the white, if that makes sense. So that way we can push that white down and get it off the little clip. Try to make sure your screwdriver's exactly flat to get it on that white piece. And it's not that easy to get the right angle on the clip, but you'll feel it as soon as you catch the lip of it. It'll be easier with a shorter screwdriver. Turn it a little bit more to see if I can get a different angle. Got it. So here you can see it's finally loosened. And what I'll do is, before I take this all the way out, let's go ahead and spin the wheel straight again. That way you got the right orientation. I'll back this out. It has some weight to it. And you can see everything is attached at the top, not the bottom. All the wiring is pretty taut, so just be careful when you're pulling this out that you're not messing anything up. But that's what you got to do. So basically, the next part is to unclip some things. We're going to unclip the horn, which is that white one. So this one right here, that's the horn. Got to pull that. You're going to wiggle it. And you wiggle it out. And then these other ones, they have like these orange clips. And what I read about them is to use 2 screwdrivers to get them out. I'm going to see if I can spin this. Okay, so this makes it a little bit easier to access. Just remember that this you need to do before you spin because it's shorter and you don't want to mess anything up. Remember, it reconnects back into here. So now for these clips, let's see if we can get them out with the screwdriver. Okay, so we're going to try these clips. We'll just get underneath the orange here with one screwdriver, and then the next orange with the other screwdriver. And try not to break anything. One off. You don't have to worry, they're color coded. This one's purple, the other one's pink. Make sure you get the clip and not underneath some other piece of plastic. Both sides, lift. There you go. Both of them are off. You have this little clip here. So it's basically like a kind of like an alligator type clip. Just lift it like so. Let me see if I can get a different angle. So right here, you just lift that clip, and then you can remove this out. Now I recommend setting the airbag assembly off to the side, keeping the same orientation that you just had it, just so it helps you reconnect in the same reverse steps. So here's with everything pulled out. Our next step is going to be that center bolt. Main thing is before we try to move the steering wheel out or pull it, we're going to mark the bolt and the stud, if you will, top dead center, because we don't want our steering wheel to be off at all, and we don't want to do this again. Okay, now we got our 22 millimeter. And I'm going to try it with the breaker bar. And it breaks. It is on there very strong, of course, for safety reasons. But you can do it with the breaker bar and a little old man strength. So here's the bolt. I don't see a lock washer at all, but this did take a lot of power to pull off. So you can see down here, we're going to take our Sharpie. We'll go ahead and make our mark. Go. We'll just match up those two black lines and put it back on the same way. Okay, now that everything's marked, we're going to go ahead and rock the steering wheel and pull. And it's starting to move, and I don't want to mess up any clips, so I'm going to pull slowly. And I'm so glad I didn't have to use a steering wheel puller. So we're just moving this slowly. But we're gonna have to disconnect the white wire. I do see that one connected above. So we'll remove that. That was one of the steps inside the other forms. So we'll go ahead and do it here. So now you can see we got that white one out, and then we'll rock it back and carefully push out the airbag wires. It's hard to do with one hand, but there we go. So the main key here is do not spin any of that. Leave everything like it is because you want to mess anything up with your alignment. Okay, on a nice clean surface, you'll set your steering wheel down. Look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that we need to take out. Doesn't take much to back them out. Something else I want to show you now that it's off is these are those squares that we're looking at the back of the steering wheel. So these small ones, you don't need to know, but these big ones were the two that were going straight in and using our screwdriver to pry them out off of those little ledges down there, you can see. So this is just an easier way to see it. Let's see if I can get these screws out. In addition to the 4, we're gonna have to remove these other 2 because I saw that they actually connect into right here. So you can see on the new one, it's gonna connect here and here. So those have to come off. Okay, those are off. It's starting to come up. Be careful with this. I believe that's the horn assembly. So don't pry against it. Just pry against the frame. And slowly. So you can see from this angle, as you lift, you want to clear He's still connected to some areas. Okay, so you can see there's a connector there and another connector here. And so that's probably, my guess is for the heated steering wheel. So let's be careful with those and go ahead and disconnect them. Okay, so more with your hand, it's easier to disconnect that way. And this one's off the screen. So you can go here, press in and lift. Boom. So there you go. And then you can see right here, actually this might be the heated steering wheel one. When I turn around, there's this one connector here, if you can see. So we'll disconnect that. Pull it out just to see it easier. There's a little clip right here. Press down and rock it out. Okay, all the 4 screws stayed in. So there you go. So here's another view of it. You can see all the connections. And we are going to take our new wire and basically want to wire it the same way this one is, because again, it's easier to work off of the known than trying to start from scratch. So use this as a template or a model to route your new wires. So I'm going to move my steering wheel out of the way. So basically what you should be able to see is the both assemblies next to each other. And you'll see right away, I was wondering if it had the right screws to go in here. And basically, if you look right here, these already have the cutouts for the paddle shifters. Because some people, you can be ghetto and cut it out yourself, but just spend the money and get the right one. So the same screw that used to go here will now go here to hold in the paddle shifter. So you don't have to worry about getting any extra screws, because that's a question a lot of people ask. But yes, you'll be able to reuse the same screws that came with it. No need to use any other trim screws or anything like that. So everything is here in the kit. So now we're going to start just rerouting the wires the same way this is, using the wiring kit that we got from the dealership. Keep in mind, you can only get these wiring kits from US dealerships. You can't get them overseas. I don't know why. Maybe we're the market for it. But just use the links in the description below. So basically, I'm kind of getting everything arranged how the original one was. So this looks like it's the top piece that goes right there. And then we will make these match. So this piece looks like it goes to this one, and this one to here. It's a little bit smaller, which is good to know because you don't want to accidentally mess it up and do the wrong side. So the only things we got to check out is making sure which one's right, which one's left here, and go from there. So my assumption is it's going to follow along. So if I flip it, make sure the small side here, small side there, and then this big side comes this way, we should have a better alignment. And so I'm just going to show inside here how this is routed. So it comes in from the top and goes left, routes all the way through there, and then comes back up here, and then has the small piece that goes to the bottom. And the other side routes straight around. I'll move this out of the way, through there, and then comes out this side. So the only difference is we're going to have paddle shifters there. So once these wires are lined up correctly with the small one to the left and the wide one to the right, then everything else should match up. So we're just going to try to route it the same way they did, like the dealership, and go from there. Uh-oh. One thing I'm noticing is they forgot to send me the heated one. Okay, it's frustrating, but do not buy the 2500. If you have a heated steering wheel, you need the 2700. So found out the hard way, but again, sharing what I learned. I ordered it and I did overnight shipping, so we'll see how many days it takes to get here. So I'll continue the video then. Now I'll just put all this back together, stock. I don't want to waste my time putting stuff together without having the right wiring. Okay, I got the right part in. So this is the 2700. And notice what it has right here. 4-pin for your heated steering wheel. The one I had problems with was this 2500, and it's missing the 4-pin. So if you're looking at them, one has double right here, this one is a single. And so that's the biggest difference. It's got everything else. It's got paddle shifter, paddle shifter, paddle shifter, paddle shifter, the main end, and this is for your horn, and there you go, and everything else down here. So just to kind of remove the confusion, and then we're ready to move forward. Okay, when you're orientating your wiring, pay attention that there's a smaller lead here and a wider lead here. So when you're wiring, wire it that way, just to make sure the right side and left side is going in correctly. So here's my wide, so I got a flip. And also on this one, you can see the heating is on the left side. So we're going to flip it. I'm going to go ahead and connect my leads. With the big block facing the same side as the big block here, where it sticks out a little bit. It's an offset. And it'll snap. And go ahead and get it aligned. And make sure there's no binding in this area where the wire is. Go ahead and do positive, upshift. Same way, look for the notch and align the notches. And press it in until it clicks. And then work it back in gently. Make sure it's clear. And then you can test it by pressing down, and you can feel it pop as it's shifting. So it does have a good response. From there, then you can start routing your wires carefully. Making sure you have enough to connect the bottom heating element. Look at where it's positioned on the old one. And you start to see how it's working. That little piece of paper, that little piece of paper on the old one, they match. Then work your way up top. Being careful with the junction points, making sure you're clearing the little screw holes. Okay, so there we have it. I'm going to shoot a different angle. That way you can see them side by side. So here you go. So you can see top, top, horn, horn. The two lefts, same size. Bottoms. And wide. Wide, and then all your paddle shifters, well, there's none over there, but paddle shifters connected, paddle shifters connected. So that's how it's laid out. And now we're gonna go ahead and put it on the back of the steering wheel. So make sure nothing's clogging your airbag holes, the releases. So now we're gonna flip and start putting this back together. First, start with your steering wheel heater. So it's off camera, there it is. And this side. I'll turn it, that way you can see this one. And then just gently work it, making sure you're not crimping any wires. And I'm looking off from the side to make sure none of the wires are getting in the way. I'm moving them out of the way of any sharp metal, because you'll see the sharp metal when you're looking from above. And I'm going ahead and aligning. There's 2 screws up here. Oops, I'll spin. These 2 screws up here is what you're trying to align before you press in. I'll flip so I can see a little bit better. So it does seem like it's pressing a little bit. Because again, there's more in here, and now you got your paddle shifters. But I think that's where we go ahead and start putting the screws in for the paddle shifters. You're going to use the actual screws that were on the back that originally held on to go ahead and put them in where the paddle shifts go. So I think that's where the alignment's coming in. So I'm using some force to get those in. I want it, before I tighten everything down, I want the paddle shifters in. See if you can see there. So I'm pushing on the back. And there's not a lot of torque that you'll put on these to tighten them down. I'm just checking the sides to make sure it's closing up the gap correctly. Feels like some of it's in the way. So if something feels in the way, go ahead and try to, with your fingers, move some of the wiring around. So like right here, you can see some of the binding in this area. I'm just going to push that away towards the center. This one's already by the center. Check this side. There's some stuff underneath here. Go ahead and push that out of the way. So yeah, it's kind of like working it. Use your light and adjust. Then go back and check the edges again. Okay, so looks like it's going to close better. Take your next screw. Go ahead and do the opposite paddle shifter. Here we go. Hold it firm, closed, and then tighten your screws down. Check for gaps. And hold it firm, closed, and tighten it down a little bit more. But don't over tighten. Mainly you're just trying to close the gaps so your steering wheel stays looking sealed. There we go. Same thing, we'll close this other side down. Push hard, you'll see the screw come up actually. Check our gaps. Very minor, but there is some. So we'll do these 2 screws inside. That should close up the gap more. at least the top gap. Don't use any power tools on these screws. Should be obvious, but you never know. Because all this is plastic. Check for gaps. That looks nice and sealed. So one more time before we put it together, I'm just looking close. I'm pushing on the paddle shifters pretty firmly, and I'm looking to see if the screws lift. And the screws are not lifting. And then here's the back. Now with your paddle shifters installed, everything's good to go. Have 2 screws lift right here. Flip it. They're going to be these 2. And you'll feel it start closing the gap as you're turning. Once the gap stops closing, you're good. And just check the bottom gaps. Make sure it is done. There you go. Okay, next step is reinstall. Okay, when you're reinstalling, you're checking these 2 studs to match them through the 2 studs here. You're going to route the airbag wire back through the top like you did before. Turned it a little bit, so I'm kind of looking through the 2 stud holes and using my fingers to guide. And then inside, I marked where I marked with the Sharpie. I'm looking for my Sharpie mark. And I'll push in on that exact same mark. And if you're off, you just pull out, turn a little bit, go back. Keep doing the same until you get it right. They're fine teeth. Once that's in, you can reconnect your top wire. More connector. Until it snaps. Get everything out of the way. Now let's put the stud back on. The main thing, don't cross thread it. Do everything by hand. This does have a real resistant thread to it, so we'll get it started with some power. And then once we get it down, go ahead and get a torque. I like using a breaker bar. It can feel real easy when it starts tightening up. It's too strong for just using your regular ratchet. Okay, I'm gonna torque this down to 30 to 35 pounds. That's what I found on the end form. There we go. Now we're ready to reconnect the airbag. First thing you're gonna look for is make sure you're facing up again. There you see your horn connector. Connect that first. Actually last, because that's a shorter cable. We'll go ahead and reconnect the airbags like we did before. Purple against purple and pink against pink. And you'll hear it snap. There they are. Then we'll spin it and connect the horn. But first, let's go ahead and route this. Go ahead and snap it. Now it's reconnected. We can do that. Okay, now you can see I reconnected the horn. Now the fun part is aligning this and get everything to slide back in. So it helps if you look at these little clip guides. You see the white right here, and line that with the little clips inside. They're little the hooks that I show you in the other first part of the video, and that helps you align it and work it in. And you'll feel them start expanding. Oops. And then you hear them snap. There you go. You got that. Here we have the finished product. There you go. There you go. Install complete. Now it's just hooking back the batteries. But one thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add my extenders, because this is what it looks like without the extenders, which there's barely anything there, which is good if you want to go with like a stealth look in a factory, but you know me, we're gonna be a little extra. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to do a little test fit. Yep, and it fits nice and snug. So since we've been touching everything, we're going to clean everything off with a little Windex and then alcohol, and then go ahead and putting on these little tabs already pre-cut. So I'm assuming this side goes onto the back, hitting the plastic part of your clips right here, and then the red part is going to go against the metal. So these come in black, silver, red, and blue, and I'll put the link in the description. But I chose silver to match the rest of the silver in my car, and I didn't want to put red and blue right next to each other and make it look like a flag. But yeah, so match it to according to what you have. Like if I didn't have this piece already red, then I would have probably went with red. But since I already have red here, I'm going with silver. That way it doesn't clash anything. So after you've already hit the back of your paddle shifters with alcohol, go ahead and hit this with alcohol. It'll make everything stick better. So notice that each one of these is cut specifically in a certain pattern, so make sure you apply them that way. I'm doing red side down. Once you have them both applied, go ahead and set them off to the side for a minute or two and let that adhesive stick. And in the meantime, go ahead and reconnect your battery, because we'll go ahead and test this before we mount these. Okay, so let's go ahead and start it. I'm going to go ahead and put it in drive. I'm gonna use my buttons. Put it in manual mode. There we go. Up arrow, see it changing to 2. Let's pull it back down to 1. I'll zoom in a little bit. So we're at 1, 2, 1. So it's working. So now let's go ahead and stick them. I know it's obvious, but match the negative to the negative. Okay, we'll test again with the installed. Works. So I was gonna say, just make sure when you're pressing these to make it adhere. When you're pressing these to make it adhere, be careful about, it sounds like you're gonna break the paddle shifters, but just press with your thumb and forefinger. That's the best way to make sure you don't damage anything. And the summer will be the test if this thing gets red hot. I'll just make sure I keep my sunshade up.